Comfort. What does comfort mean to all of us? Every time we as designers and you as the client always wants comfort as well as the right aesthetics. But I somehow feel aesthetics is given more importance than comfort. So today I have with me my friend Samir Nagori from Misura. Samir, welcome to Design Talks with Asumi. And today I am going to have Samir educate us about ergomatic chairs. Ergonomic chairs. So I always make this mistake because I think I myself don't understand what it really means. So let's understand this from the expert's eye. What exactly is this chair about and why you should have comfortable chairs? So Samir, over to you. If you can straight away dive in and explain to us everything about the chairs.
Now, the fact that Asumi Rawat is struggling to pronounce the word ergonomic prove that there is a very big gap in the understanding of the masses of what ergonomic chairs are, and leave alone that what the word ergonomic actually means. Let's try and decode this today alongside Asumi. What does ergonomics mean? Ergonomics is actually the science of how a product has to be designed in conjunction with the human body. What is it that the product would bring to the table that would keep you in the best kind of support and without any kind of trouble to the human body? And that's what ergonomics is. It's actually a very understated word. Most people would not understand this because we've not grown up to understand that comfort is a necessity of a human. We see comfort in a very different context, which is non-scientific. But ergonomics brings to the table something that is more scientific and without any prejudice.
So here is my story from where Samir and I get connected. So I have an 18-year-old son who loves to play sports, who loves to play a lot of games, and who is, during lockdown and after lockdown, doing a lot of classes online. So that's when I found his posture going all wrong. So I contacted Samir and said, Samir, I've heard you talking about this chair. That's really nice. Can you please help me with the chair? And that's how our story began. And Samir is going to let us know of what kind of chairs you need for children when they want to play games, when they want to work at home, when they want to do online classes, so that they don't have a spinal problem, so they don't have a back problem. I mean, keeping in mind their future. So Samir, over to you.
My father gave me a very good formal education. I did my master's in finance from Mumbai. Luckily, I started working with an American bank here in Mumbai. There was just a bad chair, and it was not. And the idea was that, people were not able to identify what their problems were. They were working for 10, 12, up to 18 hours in the day, right? And when they were doing so, they were physically straining themselves so much, and there was no resort. I mean, there is nobody who can reduce your work hours, right? That is something which is not controllable for most people. But we thought, can we change something inanimate in the entire process? So we thought, why not, just probably change the office chair that these people are seated on. And this one small change to the entire process actually created wonders. This is how Misura was conceptualized, and I'm very proud to say that we've, over the last decade, we've enriched lakhs of lives through this little initiative of ours, and we will continue to do that.
So what is the difference between your chair and a normal chair? Like, why should I want to buy your chair? Why should I choose a chair which has the science that you portray to have vis-a-vis a chair which is much cheaper? So if you can educate us, because that is a point that most designers and most architects struggle with, trying to explain the client, buy this will give you better comfort and a better life in the future. So if you can please drop on those points.
Of course, the idea is not to buy any specific chair. The idea is to buy a chair that comforts you the best by giving you most optimal support. The brand is not important and relevant. What is important is what is product offers at the table. Is it good for long working hours? When I say is it good for long working hours, it does not just mean at the surface of it. When you get up at the end of the day, do you feel the kind of fatigue that a normal chair would give you or a normal workday would give you? Because we have case studies, we have testimonials for people where people have spent their entire days at work, got back home, and they've told us that for the first time after using a good ergonomic chair, it was their stomach hurt at their dinner table because of laughter and not their backs.
Oh, that's amazing.
Right?
How is the chair designed? If you can explain me the design of the chair.
Of course, there are a few things that a ergonomic chair should have, and that essentially goes because every chair has to be adaptable to different body types. For example, let's talk about something which is called a lumbar support in a chair. The chair has to be designed in a way that it supports
takes
your
the
lumbar
curve.
region optimally.
Right.
Similarly, there are various functionalities that the chair should offer. For example, every person weighs differently, every person's height is different, right? Every person's dimensions are different. Now, to adapt to every individual, the chair needs to have adjustabilities. These adjustabilities make it adaptable to these people, thereby making the product ergonomic.
And tell me, what about the fabric? Because I somehow feel when you sit on a leatherite or a leather, it makes you feel so hot. Even if the AC is really good in your cabin, you feel hot.
Yeah.
And you have skin disease and stuff. So, what kind of fabric would you recommend? I mean, do you recommend starting from, take me through children like around 18 years old, then take me to the mid-age who are working for longer hours, and then take me to the boss chair?
Okay, so I'll tell you, it's not that complex. With technology today, mesh is the most ergonomic upholstery that can be put on an office chair.
Okay.
There are two ways to look at it. Of course, the chair can be an element in the room, or it could be something very understated, right? Whites, greys, these kinds of colors generally tend to blend in with most kind of decors.
What about the durability of a white chair? Because that's another thing that I'd be concerned with.
I completely understand, and this is the most, obvious objection that we've heard over the years from various clients and designers. And the answer to it is very simple. Once a year on Diwali, if you have a mesh chair, put it under the shower, wash it.
So you can wash the chair?
Absolutely.
So what about the foam and nothing gets spoiled?
There is no foam when you're sitting on a mesh chair.
I'm glad he told me that. So I am 100% going to wash Roke's chair tonight. So what do you have? What do you think one should have for that support?
So we need to understand that a neck support is something in a chair which is used when you want to relax on the chair. You understand, you can't rest while you work. Think of your work position. Do you really recline when you work? No, you sit straight, or better still, you lean forward when you're working. When you're writing something, or you're working on your computer, you're typing something on your laptop, you're leaning forward, right? That is the time when your neck is not going to have any support. But your lower back should always have that support in this situation.
Yeah, lumbar support is the most important
So there are quite some models that we have at Misura where there's something called a dynamic lumbar support. Now this lumbar support is protruding slightly forward, which means whether you're sitting straight or you're leaning forward, this lumbar support is always supporting your lower back. The concern of the upper back pain that you mentioned. It is very important for us to actually lean back a little and rest ourselves between work, right? It is very important for us to, despite having an ergonomic chair as well, to get up from your desk. Eventually, health is something which will come with some efforts.
True. What about the height of the chair?
Of course. Most chairs would come with a height adjustment. That is again because every person's height is different. And then that lets you have optimal, ideally your knees should be at 90 degrees from the ground when you're seated on a chair, and that helps you attain that posture. In fact, quite a few of our chairs also have a seat depth adjustment which lets you have very good under thigh support.
I was not aware of the fact that the chair can be adjusted to that extent. Does this science work even for dining chairs? So if yes, how should one design or pick the right design of a dining chair so as one can sit for a longer time on the same? Because I feel wahan pe bhi na, we kind of don't choose the right chair. So if you can please help us.
Okay, so it's a brilliant question. What happens here is that how much time do you intend to use a product defines how ergonomic or how functional that product should be. How much time do you intend to use a dining chair? If you want to answer that.
Yeah, so sometimes families sit for a longer time, right?
Yes.
And then there are old people, kids, everybody together on the same table.
Right.
So I somehow feel that comfort is really important. To me, it's important.
Of course.
And I would say likewise to anybody who's doing up their residential premises.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to create a home, so we're not talking about creating a restaurant, we're talking about creating a home, a homely environment, then for sure comfort is everything. So in that case, what do you think should have the lumbar support right, the height? I mean, height I know, but the rest of the factors, if you could enlighten us on that.
While you not answered my question, I'll say generally a dining chair is used for half an hour to 1.5 hours in a home.
True.
Right? You don't need adjustability in a chair for it to be comfortable for that kind of a time. But it still has to have some basics that are incorporated within the design of the chair itself. For example, if you have good lumbar support on a dining chair, it's a very good thing to have. That 1 hour, 1.5 hour of time also that you would spend with your family is going to be more comfortable. We need to ensure that that chair is anything between 16 to 18 inches of height based on the family's liking, so that they are still comfortable keeping the table still at 2.5 feet of height, right, which would be the standard height for a dining table. So these are few things in terms of dimensions and design that have to be incorporated in a chair, whether it is being used for a dining table or if it is, something like a sofa or a lounge chair at large, which will keep you actually very comfortable. At the same time, they are scientifically built in a way that the human body would respond well to them.
Do these chairs have massagers also? Like, can I have an office chair which has a massager also?
To be very true, sky's the limit to what you can have in a product, right? But the agenda is, I strongly believe in the concept of one thing where we say that the product is designed for a specific need, right? And it should stick to it. Just by adding too much to a product, I personally think that we lose the essence of why that product was, built actually. I don't believe in having an office chair that would have a massager, have functionalities that are only a gimmick. If you need a massager, put a massage chair in your house. Why not, right? Or
a separate chair, which is a massager.
100%. Right.
So I would like to understand, Sameer, the takeaways that you would like to give to my audience on. So it's very important for all of us to understand that ergonomic chairs is the right way to sit on when you're working for longer hours, for your children when they're sitting on a study chair, and also in your office environment. Because remember, your staff sits on it for a long time is when they give you the right productivity. So let's ask Sameer, the 5 best points that one should keep in mind while choosing the right chair for their staff or their children or even the boss chair. Over to you, Sameer.
Of course. First thing, Asumi, that I'd like to tell you is that always try and go for a mesh chair. And when I say a mesh chair, it means a full mesh chair which has mesh in the back and the seat. That is the first takeaway. I will give you some rationale behind it also, right? There are 3 large reasons why you should do this. One is that it responds to the weight of the user. So you mitigate the kind of pressure on your lower back by sitting on mesh than sitting on any other upholstery. Second, it's completely ventilated. Third, we don't realize that we do perspire from our thighs when we sit on chairs.
Of course.
And if anybody intends to throw away an old chair and they cut the fabric on top, they will realize that the cushion below decolors to a greenish, a dark yellow color. It's because of all the bacteria that develops in there, which is completely eliminated in a mesh chair, right? So this is very, very important that we go for mesh chairs. Second, ensure that you sit on a chair, see it's comfortable, if it's adaptable to your body type, and then buy a chair. Don't just go by a big brand name. Don't just go by textbooks. Go by your instinct, sit on the product, try it out, and then select a product. And having said this, adjustability is only something in a chair that is a utility for a person, because the chair has to adapt to them. It is not something that defines why you would buy a chair. Whether a chair has 1 adjustment, 2 adjustments, 100 or 0 will not define whether you should buy that chair. If you can find one single chair that has 0 adjustments in itself, but it is absolutely apt for your body type, that is the chair for you. So adjustments are a myth. They are only there so that the chair can adapt to your body type. So that's the third takeaway. We spoke about lumbar support. That's my 4th takeaway from this entire conversation and what we've learned over the past decade. Lumbar support, again, is something that most people looking at it as an attachment in a chair. Stop looking at lumbar supports as an attachment. Sit on the product, understand if it supports your lumbar region. If it does, it has a lumbar support. You don't need an attachment on a chair to say that there is lumbar support. And last takeaway, which is a life takeaway, is actually think of an office chair as an investment and not an expense. Why? Think of it like this. Would you want to invest in an office chair today, or would you like to invest in a wheelchair tomorrow?
Wow. I think that was fab. I think, Sameer has educated us about the chair so much that I think all of us are going to go back and change our chairs. So at every point in every podcast, what Sameer, I'm trying to cover is that the end user should not be fooled by the marketing strategies. They should be buying something or using something, keeping in mind understanding the science behind it and the purpose behind it. So if you focus on the right science and if you focus on the right purpose, you will surely get the right outcome. Today I'd like to thank Sameer Nagori for coming today and enlightening us about ergonomic chairs. Sameer, thank you so much for this. So next time you're thinking about comfort for your child, for yourself, or for your staff, remember the right chair, the right science. Ergonomic chair is the right word for you. Sameer, thank you so much for removing time and helping me help my audience understand the science behind comfort.
Thank you, Asumi, for having me over, and I'm sure this podcast is going to bring a lot of smiles to the world.